guys, and welcome to the very first video on my channel in the year 2020. First off, I want to wish all of you who celebrate it a very Merry Christmas, and I hope that all of you had a very happy New Year's Eve, and that the year ahead is very happy and full of just good stuff for all of you. And to those of you who don't celebrate Christmas, I hope that you had a very happy holiday. Also, I just want to apologize that there wasn't any videos for the last couple of weeks. I did fully intend to make videos regularly up until this point, but I actually got sick a little bit before Christmas, and then I just decided it was too much to try and get everything in order to make all of those videos. So I just decided to take the holidays and just chill and take a little bit of a break from YouTube. But I'm back today, and I'm really excited to bring in the new year with you guys, so let's get right into this video. So today we are going to be talking about the haunting of Black Forest, Colorado. Now, when I first got requested to do a video on this topic, I thought that it was about a haunted forest, and I was super intrigued and really ready to research it and just get lost in the haunted forest and all of that. But then I realized that this case actually isn't about a haunted forest, but it is about a home located in Black Forest, Colorado. Black Forest, Colorado is located in El Paso County, and it is known for its just absolutely beautiful nature and its really clean and crisp air. Stephen and Beth Lee, along with their two sons, were looking for a home in Black Forest, Colorado, where they were moving from Louisiana, when they came across the beautiful two-story home located just off of Swan Road. This home, I believe, was pretty much in the middle of nowhere. They had no neighbors that were within any kind of close proximity to their home. It was surrounded by beautiful nature and thick forest, and it was a cabin-style home. I believe like a log cabin-style home. I'll insert some pictures of the ones that I came across here somewhere. But it was just the Lee's dream. They didn't have to worry about the boys going outside to play. They didn't have to keep such a close eye on them because nobody would be coming in and on their property. And if somebody was coming onto their property, that would alarm everybody because it was quite literally in the middle of nowhere. And it was just their dream. It was quaint, it was quiet, there was not too many people around. The property was just absolutely beautiful, and it was everything they had always dreamed of. So in 1991, the Lee family moved into this home. Strange things began to happen within the home around a week after the Lee family had moved in. The two boys started to tell their parents how they had seen strange lights and human-shaped shadows moving around their room late at night. But the boys were quite young, and they had just moved from Louisiana to this, I believe before they lived in like a normal neighborhood, they had neighbors and stuff. So they moved to this really quiet area, and their house was pretty secluded, and obviously most kids don't react to change well. So the parents just thought that maybe this was them dealing with the change. They weren't used to the house yet, and they didn't think that it was anything to worry about. That is until Beth and Stephen started to experience these kinds of things themselves. They started to notice strange shadows and lights moving around the house at all hours of the day, all hours of the night, and they were just unexplainable. On top of that, the electricity started tricking them. The lights would go on and off by themselves. The TVs would change channels or would just go completely staticky. I believe on a couple occasions the entire family would be like in the kitchen eating dinner, and they could hear somebody walking around plain as day upstairs, in the hallways. Just things that were unexplainable were happening within the home, as if somebody was messing with them or as if somebody else was in the home. Another thing that started to happen frequently within the house was the family started to notice every now and then a really chemically odor or scent moving around the home that burned their nostrils, and there was no explanation for this. It wasn't any of their cleaning products or anything like that. There was just no explanation. It would kind of come in like a burst, and they'd smell it really quick, and it would burn their nostrils, and all of them had smelled it at one point or another. So it wasn't just somebody experiencing this, it was all four of them, and then it would just disappear and they wouldn't smell it again for a little while. Another thing that all four of the family members started to notice was happening quite frequently in the home was that they could hear strange music playing from different rooms in the house. Now, I'm sure at first they thought that somebody else in the family had put the music on, but when it turned out that none of them did that, it really creeped them out and left them all feeling really unsettled. Now, I do believe that Beth was more of a believer in the paranormal than Stephen, and Stephen didn't think that this was paranormal at all. He thought that somebody was messing with them, so he went out because he loved this home. His family had just moved there and all they wanted was to be happy. So he went out and bought a lot of high-tech security equipment, including high-tech security cameras, to put all over the outside and inside of the home. You've probably guessed, after setting up all of this security equipment is when things started to get a little bit stranger. The motion detectors that the family had up all around the home would go off without any explanation. There was no animals or any people near them, and the camera started to pick up weird orbs and lights and even strange faces and streaks of light throughout the camera that were just absolutely unexplainable. Now, Steven thought that this was something to do with the camera being faulty, so he got new cameras and changed them frequently, but this always happened. And the one thing that I read that sounded the most creepy, or the strangest to me anyways, was that on a couple occasions the camera actually had caught like this weird looking animal that none of them could identify coming close to the home. It was coming out of the woods close to the home, and they caught it on the camera several times, but it wasn't actually an animal. Like, it wasn't a deer or a dog. It was something that nobody had ever seen before. Not knowing what to do at this point, the family started to frequently call the police, and they actually hired a private investigator because they thought that somebody was messing with them. They didn't know how else to explain this. And the local police department actually visited the Lees home on 45 different occasions, and they only ever found one strange thing. And that was a rag that smelled like that chemically odor that the family had reported smelling quite frequently. The rag had been soaked in that. But when the police brought it down to the station and they got it tested, whatever the substance was that the rag was soaked in came back to be inconclusive, but what they could determine was that it was completely harmless. Now, because there was nothing going on at the home, the police never found anything except this rag, and the family was calling so frequently, the police department started to believe that the Lee family was a little bit delusional, and they just began to ignore their calls altogether. So now it was 1995, and the family had been living in this home with all of this terror taking place for the past 5 years without any explanation, and even Steven was starting to believe that maybe something else was at play here, and it wasn't somebody messing with them, but maybe it could have possibly been paranormal. So him and Beth started to look into who they could contact and who could possibly help them, and that is when Steven contacted the show called Sightings. Because of all of the experiences that the Lee family was having, the Sightings crew and the people who directed the show thought that this was a perfect opportunity for filming. So the entire crew came down to the Lee's home, accompanied by a well-known psychic by the name of Echo Bodine. Now, when Echo came into the home, they immediately said that they could sense all of the spirits and that there was at least 20 ghosts haunting the house or within the home at that time, and at least one of them was malevolent and had bad intentions. So after coming to the home and investigating, and the psychic saying that there was a lot of ghosts and hauntings within the house and a lot of spirits, the show decided to go forward and do an episode on the Lee family. But because of all of the activity that was happening while the crew was there, they actually ended up doing an entire series on the Lee home. While the crew was there, they reported experiencing their equipment being moved around. They reported a lot of electrical problems. Their tripods and things had been knocked over. All of the staff the crew experienced feeling very, very strange and unsettled in the home. And a lot of things just happened that were just completely unexplainable, similar to the things that the Lee family had reported happening to them. One night, while in the home, one of the staff members actually claimed to have been attacked by one of the spirits within the Lee's house. Now, this, I believe, was the first time that one of the spirits had ever been violent, and the woman who was attacked said that this left her just feeling really empty, and she was shaking and crying, and she physically had to be removed from the home by the other crew members who just saw her pretty much deteriorating in front of their eyes. She was shaking, she couldn't catch her breath, she was vomiting, crying. Things were just not right, and they could see it, so they removed her from the home, and she said that she didn't feel completely normal until she was completely off of the Lee's property. And she later said that she believed that whatever the spirit was that had attacked her was trying to possess her. After this attack had taken place, the show kind of decided that they were going to take a step back from the Lee's home, and they took a little bit of a break before returning back to do another paranormal investigation 6 months later. And this time they brought along with them a completely different psychic by the name of Peter James. Now, when Peter James entered the home, he said that he had never felt a home that he could feel so strongly was filled with spirits. Peter James said that he mainly thought that the energy that he could feel within the home was coming from the second story of the house, mainly from a 100-year-old mirror that the Lees had in the master bedroom, along with a closet that was located on the second floor. And Peter James went on to say that he believed that these items in the closet and the mirror could possibly be a vortex or some kind of connection to the spiritual world. Something that I found very interesting about this case as well is because of the show Sightings, as well as the work of Stephen Lee himself, this is said to be one of the most documented hauntings that have ever been caught on camera, because they were filming it so much for the TV show. Stephen Lee had all the cameras set up inside his home as well as the outside. So this again is said to be one of the most well-documented hauntings to this day. One of the craziest and, in my opinion, spookiest things that happened while the Sightings was making this series within the Lee home is a few days after visiting the Lee's home, Peter James actually woke up with a very strange bump on his head. Now, this really concerned him because he hadn't remembered bumping his head. He didn't know where it came from, so he decided to visit the doctors. Now, he went to the doctor couldn't figure out what it was, so he decided to get a second opinion, and that doctor also couldn't give him an explanation. So after visiting several doctors, he just kind of gave up and he was like, whatever, it'll go away on its own, hopefully. And the following day he went to work and he started to view the footage from the Lee's home. And that is when he saw a photo of himself with a light kind of shooting at his face, and it was connected directly to where this strange lump-like bruise was now on his face. Now, I personally couldn't find this photo, but it is allegedly out there somewhere. I did a lot of digging. I looked all over Google, I looked everywhere, and I couldn't find it personally. And I myself have not watched the show Sightings, so maybe it's in there somewhere. But I just think that's so crazy. If it is out there somewhere, that's really crazy. Because the Lee family's home was on the show Sightings, they did have an entire series made up about them. It became quite popular in the neighborhood. Everybody knew about the Lee's home and that it was allegedly haunted. And a lot of skeptics started to visit the home. A few people came there and said that they had experienced things that could not be explained other than it being some kind of paranormal activity. Even the state senator at the time, Charles Duke, actually visited the Lee's home, and he allegedly had some very strange experiences within the home that were caught on camera. I again could not find this footage, but allegedly they're out there somewhere. But yeah, a lot of psychics visited this home. Shaman actually visited the home, and all of the psychics and the shaman all agreed on one thing, that they believed that this home was some kind of vortex or portal to the spiritual world, and that is why the house was so haunted, and that's why there always seemed to be such an overwhelming amount of spirits within the home at one time. It had later come out that, little to the Lee's knowledge, the previous owner of the house, who had sold the home to the Lee family, was actually moving out because he suffered so badly at the hands of some kind of paranormal entity. Now, the previous owner never shared this information with anybody. He didn't tell the Lees about this. He never told absolutely anybody about this because he was scared that they wouldn't believe him, that he would be laughed at, that they would think he was crazy. So he just didn't tell anybody, but once he saw that the Lees were on TV and stuff, he then reached out to them and kind of apologized for allowing their family to move into a home that was haunted and that he had already known was haunted. Just like in any case similar to this, just like Amityville Horror, The Haunting in Connecticut, all of those types of things, there's a lot of speculation about whether or not this actually happened or if it was really played up by the TV show or the Lee family. I'm gonna let you guys decide what you think about this one. There is a lot of documented evidence. There is a lot of pictures. I will obviously insert them in the video throughout, so you guys have probably already seen them. But again, there is a lot of speculation as whether or not this was really played up or if this all happened, similar to absolutely any haunting case like this. But guys, that brings us to the end of this video. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to comment down below what you'd like to see in my future videos. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos from me. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!